Sure, I'll jump in and start. I'm Eric Hurst. I'm the Public Information Officer with South Metro Fire Rescue. I've had a long career so far in Douglas County in firefighting. I started as an explorer with Castle Rock Fire Rescue. I was a volunteer firefighter with Franktown Fire Protection District, and then spent a lot of years as a 911 dispatcher before getting into the Public Information Officer role.
My name's Einer. I'm a risk reduction specialist for South Metro Fire Rescue. I was a firefighter for 15 years up in the mountains, and now I've worked down here with South Metro since 2008.
Brian? All right. Go ahead. Brian McKnight, been with the Sheriff's Office 2 years, have 32 years of law enforcement, and part of the community resource team here at Douglas County.
I'm Sergeant Jeff Miller. I've been with Douglas County for almost 24 years and been a community resource unit for almost 4. So I work with Brian and Jason, and every once in a while we get the pleasure of working with Eric and Einer. So.
Jason, I just saw something come on Facebook saying it sounds like you're muted. Yes. And I just saw something come on Facebook saying it sounds like you're muted.
There is that, and the sleepovers at the firehouse are so much fun that the firefighters spend 48 hours there before they go home. So they spend a third of their life in the firehouse because firefighting is so awesome. Or wake up and go to a big fire. Either way, sometimes it happens one way or the other. Yeah. And occasionally we're driving back from the fire right around the time the donut shops are opening, and we wave at you guys as we drive by.
I can turn it up a little bit more. Try that.
No, I'm not familiar with that incident.
I can turn it up a little bit more.
Yeah, nobody's hearing you. We can't hear Jason.
All right, Jason's going to start working on his sound issues. We thank you, everybody, for letting us know that wasn't working, and we will try to get that fixed right away. Okay, there's a couple more people talking about the mute. Can't hear Jason, no sound. We'll try to get that fixed right away. I know there's a lot of issues going on. We haven't had a lot of questions here. One of the big concerns that we're seeing lately is the increase in reports of fires happening in the last couple of weeks and even the last couple of days. You guys have seen a lot happening there on your end. Are you seeing any more today?
Thankfully, today's been pretty quiet so far, although the wildfire danger today is as bad as it was yesterday. So we're probably going to be in the extreme category again. Fuels or the vegetation that's out there is very receptive to fire right now. So especially the grass and the real fine vegetation that's out there can burn very easily. And then we add wind on top of that and it spreads the fire pretty quick. So we saw that Monday with the Chat Ridge 2 fire, grew to 460 acres and caused evacuations. And it was a really significant and very worrisome fire. And then yesterday we had 3 different brush fires in our district. One of them in Douglas County had E470 reduced in lanes of traffic for over an hour near Peoria Street. We're not sure what caused that one, but several different small grass fires started along the side of the highway and spread very fast. And then yesterday afternoon in Jefferson County, we had another brush fire. That one was about a 1/4 acre in size, and that one was a Roman candle. So some juveniles playing with illegal fireworks there. So really running the gamut. The Chat Ridge 2 fire was an electrical fire that started it. Not really sure about 470, although some of the common things that we see along roadways is dragging chains behind vehicles or hot metal and engine parts coming off and flying into the grass, or sometimes those are even cigarettes. So lots of different ways that a fire can start, and that's why it's really important for people to just be extra careful. Obviously fireworks this week, but really anything that can cause heat, sparks, open flame, anything like that.
We have a question about if fireworks that leave the ground are illegal, which they are, why are they being sold all over Douglas County? Well, they shouldn't be selling anything that leaves the ground at a fireworks stand in Douglas County. Now, a lot of people ask questions of why do you still sell fireworks when you're in fire restrictions? Because technically, under fire restrictions that we have right now, you cannot use fireworks. But the state law won't allow us to restrict people from selling fireworks. So that's why they're being sold.
Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you now. We'll see if anybody says they can't hear you again.
Anybody hear me out there?
Nothing yet. Well, while we're waiting for some questions, can we give them an idea of what you guys dealt with along with us with that first big fire and some of the support you got from all over, and how did we make sure we took care of that incident? And I know on both of our sides, we were pretty busy taking care of business on that one. So can either one of you guys tell us from the fire side what it took to actually get that fire out?
Yeah, you bet. I'll start off with some of the incident stuff, and then Einar can expand on some of the things that the homeowners and HOAs can do to help us on the front end to make things easier. But the response was fast because we had a lot of different people call 911 and give really detailed information. Dispatchers are always wondering how big the fire is, how quickly it's spreading, and if anything is threatened. So that information is really good. And where this fire occurred near Santa Fe and Titan Road is very close to where the contracted Douglas County helicopter is stationed. So we had our first water drop on the fire probably within the first 20 minutes of the incident. So to have air support and firefighters working on the ground immediately was a huge help. What firefighters were working against was that really dry vegetation, really, really gusty winds, and then the topography there is a challenge. So there's a valley where that fire really started at the bottom of the valley and started working its way uphill. So when you combine dry fuels, wind, and an uphill fire, all of those things are really challenging, and fire can spread quickly. So we called for a second alarm assignment, and really that just doubles the amount of resources that would usually be sent. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 or 70 responders from South Metro and from our neighboring agencies in Douglas County. And once we started to see that we weren't going to be successful in stopping the fire right there at the end of Chat Ridge Court, there's no road access to get there, and it was too dangerous to put firefighters in front of the flame front because the fire was too big. That's when we really hit the call for help button, and it brought firefighting resources from all over the Denver metro area, from Jefferson, Adams, Denver County, some of our neighbors in Arapahoe and Douglas County, Elbert County even. And then the call for more air support came in, and that was a huge help. So large air tankers, small single engine air tankers, helicopters doing what they could do to dump from the sky to try and help contain that, firefighters working on the ground, and then obviously when we knew that the backcountry was threatened, sending firefighters there to do structure protection for where the fire was going to impact the neighborhood. So there was a lot that had to happen very quickly, and from the get-go, there's what we call unified command with the sheriff's office. So we have our fire chiefs and our sheriff commander working hand in hand together on messaging, making sure we're on the same page, and that deputies are doing evacuations that they need to do while firefighters are doing what the firefighters need to do. And thankfully, it's something that we've trained for. Unfortunately, it's something that we've had to deal with major fires in the past. In fact, the first Chat Ridge fire was in October of 2016 and burned in exactly the same spot as the Chat Ridge 2 fire did. So we had a practice run at this one 4 years ago. And one of the other really successful things there is the homeowners on Chat Ridge Court have done fire mitigation and created defensible space. And that makes firefighters' jobs a lot easier. And really, that's where Einer's expertise comes in. And so I'll let him speak to that.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it was apparent just listening to the radio that our firefighters did find benefits from various homeowners in Chat Ridge Court who had done mitigation in advance of that fire. Some of them probably had been through the Chat Ridge 1 fire 4 years ago. Others had moved in since then, but they took the responsibility to make their homes, their property, and their neighborhood as resistant to wildfire as possible. Some of the ways that they did that is that they've grown a lawn around their homes, and they water that lawn. They change the vegetation that's growing immediately around their homes, so that while pine trees and deciduous plants, maple trees, lilacs, that sort of thing are excellent to have around your home. And a lot of them remove the junipers, the cedars, the fitzers, what we would consider little green gas cans growing around their homes. So they put a ton of work, both hard dollars and time, into improving their properties and making their neighborhood more resistant to wildfire. And then on the other end, our firefighters found that the residents of backcountry also did some of that work. And so it was easier for our firefighters up there to prepare that neighborhood for what was an impending fire at that point. Some of the homeowners there on Skydance, they stretched out the hoses from their own spigots, and that let firefighters use the homeowner's water supply in addition to what they had in their own engines. And the sheriff's office could probably speak to how easy the evacuation was, but it's important for all of us who live in Douglas County, even if you're in the middle of Castle Rock or in the middle of Highlands Ranch, to be ready for a potential evacuation. And there's lots of great resources online on how to prepare for that evacuation. But for right now, what you can think about is the 4 Ps. You want to remember your pets, pills, which are prescriptions, of course, papers, and pictures. Those are usually things that either can't be replaced or it will be harder to get them replaced. And then to know where your shelter is. For this fire, it was Thunder Ridge High School, but honestly, you could go to any place, and it's probably good to have multiple family meeting places outside of the neighborhood, just so you're ready in case another emergency like this one happens.
You know, one thing I think that was really big is there's a couple of things that's happened in the past that unfortunately that helped us is when the Waldo Canyon fire occurred, I don't think before that people didn't really realize that the whole neighborhoods could burn down. And then with the Chat Ridge fire, 4 years ago, that really, we registered a lot of people for Code Red back then. So that really helped on Monday also.
Yeah, and Sergeant, if I may, I had several people inside backcountry tell me that registering for Code Red and getting that reverse notification made a difference for them. I also had residents from other areas ask me why they didn't get a Code Red notification. And it was I don't know, it was a joy for me to be able to say that now Code Red has come along so that it's precise. So
Right.
Instead of doing major swaths of neighborhoods that may or may not be affected, truly it's a technology that can target those high risk neighborhoods as needed instead of all of northern Douglas County. So kudos to you guys and for the system. And for anyone listening, if you haven't registered for Code Red, today is the day to do that. You can go to dcsheriff.net and follow the links, and it's super easy. The other day I registered my daughters for that, so they can know since they have cell phones now. So thank you to you guys and to DCSO for making that happen.
Well, and the Code Red is not just for fire type emergencies. There's a lot of police activity, like if we had a crime scene or something like that where things are dangerous, we'll send out a Code Red notification to people in the neighborhood to, either like go to their basement or lock your doors or things like that, so they know that there's something dangerous going on in their neighborhood.
There's a question here that is just asking specifically what Code Red is. It's our reverse 911 system. It's the way that we can contact people in case of an emergency, just to be very clear with what that is. It's not us reaching out to say, hey, we're having an event, hope you can come. It's nothing like that. It's specifically for emergencies. Somebody said to go check in the App Store, but for us, it is specifically you need to go to the website and at dcsheriff.net, and you can sign up for Code Red there. And that's how we are able to get you into that system. The way it works is if you have a landline, a true landline, which is kind of rare these days, you're automatically built into it. Voice over IP, you have to register, and any cell phone, you also have to manually go in and register.
I think the one thing I noticed during that fire was how quickly it was in one spot, and next thing it looked like it was 50 yards further ahead with that wind. And if anybody got a chance to watch that, it really tells you how quick this stuff can change, and getting that notification of a fire coming and preparing and getting out of there quickly is a huge piece of the puzzle.
Well, I was actually in the Emergency Operations Center during the whole operation that you guys were doing. That's kind of again, I missed some of the conversation. I apologize if I'm repeating anything, but it's kind of where the back end work happens that isn't right there on the line. So emergency operation is working on getting extra resources or any resources that are needed for the field, any planning for what's coming. But one of the interesting things we were doing is kind of our GIS guys, or Geographic Information System guys, were actually out there mapping from a thermal image from space on exactly how big that fire and growing and everything else. And we were able to have an exact perimeter of that fire. You could even see embers flying and where they were flying and everything. It's pretty neat technology on the back end, and just how just the cooperation between agencies and everything can bring resources to really get these problems resolved quickly.
Well, and I think now that we're talking about fires and the concept of the 4th coming up, and both agencies have that little bit of fear of seeing all these fires and then the potential for more. We've heard rumors that, and you've even heard it on the news, the sale of fireworks throughout the state is incredibly busy. There was even a thing on the news saying the border of Wyoming and people going up there has been overwhelming. And that kind of puts a little fear in our heads of what we may be dealing with this weekend with the fire danger and the use of these illegal fireworks.
We understand. We know everybody's cooped up and looking for something fun to do this summer. Just don't put yourself at risk to be able to burn houses down or burn giant fields down. We understand fireworks are fun. We all love fireworks, especially the fire guys. But the reality is that it's just not safe this year, especially with the wind. We've just gone into stage 2 fire restrictions. Literally, as we were going live with this, it was going into stage 2 fire restrictions, which means really no shows of any kind, as well as, again, we can't say exactly what's going to happen there, but no fireworks of any kind this year are going to be legal. So just know that there's going to be extra enforcement out there. There's going to be extra steps taken to try to make it so that we don't burn Douglas County down, because everybody knows it's a wonderful place to live. We don't want to mess with fires everywhere. Questions are coming in. Remember, this is we're looking for questions for both law and fire. There are a couple law enforcement specific questions here. First one is just going to be, how do we hear about what's going on in our neighborhoods? Again, that's something that we deal with regularly. If you want to know what's going on in your neighborhood, you can reach out.
Jason, we're losing you.
All right. So he was talking about what people need to do to stay informed of what's going on in Douglas County. And a lot of it is social media.
Yeah, and I'll tag on for the fire department side. For residents who live in Douglas County, you can download the Pulsepoint Respond app on your phone. For iPhone, for Android, it's free to download, and you can find the fire district that you live in, even your surrounding fire districts. And if you're curious as to what the fire department is doing, if you see smoke, if you hear sirens, you can look and see where the active incidents are occurring at. You can also set up your devices to receive notifications for things like wildland fires. So if you go to the notification category, you'll see vegetation fire and confirmed vegetation fire. At South Metro anyway, vegetation fire is a small brush fire, generally smaller than an acre, and a confirmed vegetation fire on Pulsepoint is a big fire, bigger than an acre, or potentially threatening structures. So that's really your first notification that something could be going on in your neighborhood, and you'll get that in a very timely manner. Right around the same time firefighters are being dispatched to that emergency is when Pulsepoint goes off. And another good thing that you can do is follow Douglas County Sheriff's Office. You can follow South Metro Fire Rescue on Twitter, and we use our Twitter accounts to communicate with the community as well as the news media. And from the South Metro side, we always have a public information officer that responds to those working fires, and we are typically sending out images or videos from the scene and doing updates in real time. So if you want to know how the incident is progressing, that's a good way to do it.
Okay, I got Jason with me now.
I'm back, kind of.
He kind of lost some power, so we're going to join each other on this one. One of the next questions that just came up, and it appears a little more law enforcement, but fire does deal with this too. It talks about mental health is such an issue today. What is Douglas County doing, or are you dealing with mental health professionals? Sarge, can you tell them what we're doing?
Yeah, we have we have a team of deputies and clinicians that go out and they deal with, that's all they do is deal with mental health, and trying to do it in a way that keeps them out of the justice system, and getting people the help that they need, and they try to get it as affordable as they can.
And it really is a cool concept when you have an officer and the clinician show up and be able to help those individuals immediately and have extra knowledge and education that we all don't have. And they show up and they're really there to make a big difference. And it's a great tool that we have on the street. And we also have a group that are assigned to deal with the same issue in the schools.
So we got another question about how should people submit a fireworks complaint? Well, we ask that you please don't call 911. That's, if there's injuries or something like that are from fireworks and they need help right away, then yes, 911 may be appropriate. Other than that, just a fireworks complaint, just calling our non-emergency number, which is 303-660-7500, and that's how you would do your fireworks complaints.
Now, for the fire end of it, what do you guys normally do for this weekend and responding to the fireworks? Do you have a little more activity going on for that?
So now that there's a stage 2 fire restriction in place, that may change things with professional shows if they get canceled. But when professional shows are occurring, we have members of the South Metro Fire Marshal's office who go through the approval and permitting process for those shows. They do site inspections to make sure that they're safe, and they're on site to do testing and then during the show so that they can stop it at a moment's notice if anything's going wrong. And we also send fire suppression units to those shows. So at least one fire engine, usually a small wildland brush truck, but sometimes a structural fire engine will go as well. And they're on site just in case there is some kind of an emergency that occurs. And that's the big reason why we usually would encourage people to go to a professional show if there are some, rather than setting off their own fireworks, because we have a place that's already established as a safe location. Behind the scenes in the rest of the district, for Friday and Saturday, at this point, South Metro is upstaffing additional wildland brush trucks for our district. I think we have 3 of those that'll be in service, as well as a wildland supervisor. And really the big reason there is because dry, sometimes windy, we know how dangerous the fire conditions are. Fires are going to grow way faster right now than they usually do, but it's still going to take firefighters the same amount of time to get there to deal with them. So we can become resource depleted very quickly when we have to send way more trucks and firefighters to fires that are growing fast. So we will have extra crews on duty. They'll come in usually late morning or afternoon and then stay till about midnight. And that's typically when we see fire volume slowing down, but they could stay longer if we need them to. So yes, we will definitely have extra staffing ready just in case a fire does happen.
Very good. There are a couple questions on crime stats in Douglas County. If you go to our website, dcsheriff.net, and you can search for raids online, it's RAIDS online, and it will take you to a web page where you can look up all the stats, and you can put on any address in the county, and it will tell you crimes that have happened in that area. And it's actually within, Jason, it's usually within a couple of days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's within a few days. It's pretty up to date normally. It does not give extreme detail on exactly what happened or anything like that, but it will give you that there was a general call type. So if it was a theft, for example, it'll show that there was a theft. It'll give a block range and a general location of where it happened, but it'll at least lets you set up a radius and any information that'll at least get you to know. Say you want a half a mile from your house, you can know what's happening within a half mile, up to 10 miles or whatever you want to do within certain time ranges also.
Okay, so Eric or Einar, here's a question. What does standby mean on the Pulsepoint app?
Good question.
Go ahead.
You want this one?
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. Standby is usually a call where we need our brave sheriff deputies to go in first and make sure that the situation is safe for our firefighters to enter the scene. So our firefighters and paramedics are equipped with ballistic protection. They have a bulletproof vest basically and a helmet that they can wear in a dangerous, like an active killer environment. But our firefighters and paramedics don't carry weapons, and they're not trained to deal with threats. They're trained to deal with people who are hurt. So we rely very heavily on sheriff deputies to make sure that potentially dangerous scenes are safe for our firefighters and paramedics to go into those areas for us. So dispatchers will ask a lot of questions of people who call 911, and if they've identified that our paramedics or firefighters could be at risk of being harmed by someone, the law enforcement officers will go in first and make sure it's safe for us to enter the scene.
That's why you call us the Blue Canaries, is that right?
I've never heard that term. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think Einer's heard that term either.
Good response.
We have all kinds of things we say about that, but no, we understand why. There's things that we don't want to go into either that we like. They let those guys do that. They're the professionals.
Definitely. Well, we couldn't appreciate more what you do for us. And it's awesome that we've done so much to train together, and I think it really shows in how we respond together to all kinds of incidents on the street every day.
Now, you guys do have on our SWAT team, you actually have some South Metro paramedics that are on our SWAT team.
That's true. So we do have two different groups of paramedics who have gone through Police Academy and are on both the Douglas Regional SWAT team and the Arapahoe County Sheriff's SWAT team. And that is a completely different and special level of training that those individuals get. And they only act as law enforcement officers during a SWAT response, but on the daily basis, when they're just assigned to a fire truck or an ambulance, they're not carrying weapons with them, and they're not working in the capacity of a law enforcement officer.
They have legitimately saved people's lives at this agency on a regular basis. Coming just off the top of my head, the Dan Bright incident that happened when Dan was shot. He did die a couple of times en route to the hospital, but the reason he's here today with us, and he'll openly share that it's because those SWAT medics were right there with him, able to very quickly, very efficiently transfer him to the hospital that was nearby and care for him right away to make sure that he did survive. And he's with us today as our wellness coordinator and still commissioned.
It is a great example of how we've learned to work together through the years and support each other. And it really is a partnership to make things happen in all different types of cases. I think during the fire the other day, we really saw how we work together and solve problems and make things happen quickly. And that unified command is a huge piece of that.
All right. So Eric, here's another question for you. Can you talk about what the firearm car is?
Yeah, I absolutely can. It actually ties a little bit back into the mental health question that we had earlier, because the ARM car will assist with those type of incidents. And ARM stands for Advanced Resource Medic. And so we have an advanced practice paramedic firefighter who's on that vehicle, as well as a nurse practitioner. And it's kind of an alternate emergency medical care model. Not everyone who calls 911 ends up having to go to the hospital. There's a lot of things that the ARM car can solve in a pre-hospital environment for someone to keep them out of the hospital system, which is a good thing both for the patient who probably doesn't want to pay for a transport bill to the hospital and for an ER visit. And it's also good for the hospital because they're not having a patient come into an emergency department that maybe isn't having a hospital emergency. So there's a few different things that they can do. They can do some diagnostic testing while they're out there in the field. They can do some sutures and kind of keep people out of the ER. It's almost like a variation of an urgent care on wheels. And then they also work with some social services in various areas of our district. So a lot of the times, not only with mental health calls, but generally with people who are unwell. Sometimes their health could be related to their living conditions, and maybe they just need extra help in different ways. And the ARM car is there to help really make it a holistic approach to healthcare and try and make people's lives better so that they don't have to activate the 911 system at all, and help them be healthy.
And you mentioned it earlier, you guys do like a 48-hour shift. Does that car have a different style of shift to be able to do that?
Yeah, great question. So the ARM car is only available from like 8 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday. And we're entering into kind of a new evaluative phase of that to see if that schedule is still what we want to go with. And if we would need to add any additional resources in the future. So in a lot of ways, even though the ARM car has been in service for a couple of years, it's still kind of an experiment of ingenuity to see what can we do in a different way and try new things. And obviously, if we can find things that are better for the community, because the community is who's paying for our services, right? So the best service that we can give the community is what we're aiming for. And this is one way that so far we feel like it's a success, and hopefully it can continue to expand and grow in the future. But yeah, they're working just Monday through Thursday day shifts at this point. We don't have them overnight.
Are you seeing that same concept used in other locations in the state and throughout the country? Or is it that new?
There are definitely variations at other fire departments, and they all look a little bit different than what South Metro has. I think one of the most beneficial programs I've seen out there is Tualatin Valley Fire Rescue, which is just west of Portland, Oregon, and they have like a quick car concept with a paramedic, and that person goes to a lot of different calls, not only non-emergency EMS calls, but they go to emergency calls as well. And I think in general, for fire departments who respond to medical emergencies, that's most of what we do. At South Metro, it's well over 60% of our call volume is medical, not actually fire calls. So we look for ways to be more efficient in those EMS responses. A lot of the metropolitan areas that are running hundreds of thousands of calls a year, they're looking for alternative ways as well. Like Los Angeles City has two firefighter paramedics on like a pickup truck style vehicle rather than sending a fire engine. And so we see it all over the country in different ways, and people are just finding out what works best for them.
It sounds like a great way to use different resources and not having to send out the big rigs if someone's already taken care of it and you're able to respond somewhere else.
Exactly. And we get that question a lot too. Why does a fire truck go to a medical emergency? And, the main answer is we just don't know until we get to some of those medical calls how bad they're going to be. And if it's something like CPR or a bariatric or a very heavy patient, it's going to take more than two people to do the work that needs to be done. And also from a customer service perspective, it's nice to have 5 or 6 personnel on scene that can help with getting family pets put away, gathering medications, helping to shovel a sidewalk in the wintertime, carrying a patient up from a basement or down the stairs. And so that's why a fire truck goes. And we know that the fire truck could be needed for a fire or a car accident at any moment. So that's why it always travels to all the calls that it goes to. But you're right. We always look for ways that we could do things better, and that's constantly being evaluated. So again, kind of going back to part of the reason why the arm car exists.
So you do or don't rescue cats out of trees?
It's funny you say that because I just saw a tweet like an hour ago from Portland Fire Rescue, and they're rescuing a cat off a bridge, and it looks like one heck of an operation. Like they have firefighters doing a rope rescue of a kitten like right now. I haven't seen a cat get rescued out of a tree in South Metro's district in a long time. So we do animal rescues, but we want to make sure that we can do it in a safe manner. And typically when it comes down to those calls, we very much care about animals and we want to make sure that they're okay. But our bigger concern is we don't want community members taking dangerous action to rescue an animal, and then it becomes a human rescue because someone has gotten themselves in trouble or gotten themselves hurt. So we have gotten cats out of high places before, and a lot of times that's because we don't want community members risking their own safety to go up and get them. More commonly, we have ducks or ducklings in storm drains, and so we'll go and help get those out again to keep people safe, and dogs from under porches, a horse in the mud a couple times. We'll do whatever we can to help out.
Well, not to mention ice rescue too. You guys have a whole ice rescue team up there that I know you've been utilized a few times for animal rescue, but you guys are specifically there for human rescue, but you can use it for animal rescue too.
Yeah, and that again, it goes back to like we all are animal lovers and we care a lot about dogs, and we never want to see a dog that falls through the ice drown. But our bigger concern is that if trained and equipped firefighters don't do it, well-intentioned community members are going to try. And ice rescues are no joke. People that fall through the ice can go underwater and they can die, and it happens across the country all the time. So we do consider that an emergency. If somebody sees a dog or an animal, or of course a person on or through the ice, we want them to call 911, and we have ice rescuers. Every single fire truck in South Metro's district has a dry suit, so no matter what fire truck shows up, they can have a firefighter who's properly equipped and trained to go make a rescue. So yeah, great point, Jason. It's hard to think about ice right now with the wildfire conditions we have, but that'll be coming soon enough, and a very common call that we deal with.
You know, we do the polar plunge every year, and we have firefighters cut the ice with their dry suits and saws and everything else because they're well trained, and because we like to sit in the heaters in our cars while you guys are doing that kind of thing. So, yeah.
That's right. Now, you guys also have a dive team, and you guys were actually involved at Chatfield Reservoir and got called out just recently, didn't you?
Yes, so South Metro does have a water rescue team. They're equipped for surface ice rescues like we just talked about, scuba diving, so underwater rescue, and then also swift water, so rescues in a river or in a flood situation. And we have 2 water rescue vehicles that tow boats. One of them's located at Station 31 in Greenwood Village near Cherry Creek State Park. The other is located down off of Santa Fe and 470 at Station 16. And its primary response area is Chatfield State Park and the South Platte River. And yes, those divers, both stations will respond to rescue calls, and they get dressed on the way, and they're ready to either deploy a boat if they need to, or jump right onto the ice or into the water. Chatfield was really a tragic example of how important it is to wear PFDs, or personal flotation devices, in the water. It is so heartbreaking to see somebody drown and somebody die while they just went out to have a good time on the lake, like a lot of people do. And a personal flotation device is one way that you can really help keep yourself safe. And Einer probably has some other feedback there when it comes to water safety too. It's a really important thing to talk about.
Yeah, it is an important thing to talk about. Thank you, Eric. You identified the big solution to that. It's important that all of us, even if you're an Olympic swimmer, I'm not, but even if you're an Olympic swimmer, you need to be wearing that personal flotation device when you're in open water, even if you're just fly fishing in the side of especially now with the rivers and creeks that are swollen with spring runoff, because when you're treading water out there, at a certain point, your body's just going to get tired. And the middle of the lakes can be a lot colder than the shore water. And it's very easy for our bodies to lose the energy that we need to stay afloat. So personally, I've had a personal flotation device save my life. That's one of those safety devices that has kept me here because I was in a river, and it was nice to be able to bob to the surface instead of just sink and not be able to breathe. So if you go to any lake, especially the Lake Chatfield, Cherry Creek State Park, the rangers there also have safety information for that specific site on how to keep yourself and your family as safe as possible.
So another question that I don't know if Eric or Einer, you have an answer is there any plans for expansion for new fire stations in anywhere in the South Metro District?
There are. That's a great question. So our newest fire station is going to be fire station number 20, and it's going in Douglas County. It's going to be in Highlands Ranch, right across the street from Mountain Vista High School. So on the north side of Wildcat Reserve Parkway and just west of Summit View Parkway. If that station had been put in service within the last month, it would have already been on 2 significant wildland fires in its area. So it's not only going to help response times there, but it should help with keeping Station 18 and Station 17, which currently cover that area. It'll help keep them more available for calls in their own response area, which is a good thing as well. So yes, we anticipate that station should be completed as far as construction goes by the end of the year. We hope to have it in service in the beginning part of next year. There will be an engine that'll be housed there, so your standard fire engine that you see at South Metro, and then also what we call a brush engine, which is a Type 3 wildland truck. It's kind of like a standard brush truck, but a little beefed up. So a big vehicle that can go off-road, carries 500 gallons of water, and it's suitable to fight something like the Chat Ridge 2 fire, or the crew can respond on the normal fire engine to calls with structures in the neighborhood or EMS incidents, car accidents, and things like that. So that's the first one that's on the radar. There's a couple more that are possibilities down the road, but those will be still a few years out. But yeah, South Metro is definitely not done growing when it comes to more fire stations.
So I don't know. I don't think people realize how big South Metro Fire, their district is. Mm-hmm. What areas does it cover? And do you know roughly how many people live in that district?
I do, yeah. So I came prepared because I thought maybe you would ask me that, Sarge. You're tough on these questions sometimes. So I've studied. Yeah. South Metro covers 287 square miles, portions of 3 counties. So portions of Arapahoe, Douglas, and Jefferson County, and cities that fall within those boundaries. So Bomar, Columbine Valley, Cherry Hills Village, City of Littleton, Greenwood Village, Parker, Lone Tree, Castle Pines. It's a big area, Foxfield. So essentially from the southern border of the city of Denver all the way down to Castle Rock, and then from the Elbert County line all the way west to like Wadsworth, the foothills. And within that area, we currently have 29 fire stations, with the 30th being built right now. And it's a population of about 540,000 residents who live in our district. So it's a big, big footprint.
You know, not meaning to like flex on you or anything, but Douglas County is 842 square miles. Just saying.
How many fire stations do you guys have?
We don't have time to sit at the fire station.
I got my comedian behind me.
Sorry.
Clearly, yeah. If sheriff deputy doesn't work out for you, Jason, comedian might work.
Yeah, maybe not.
Or not.
No, we're not.
I have one for you, Brian. Somebody's asking about car break-ins.
Car break-ins, that is something we are constantly trying to educate our community on. The increase in theft from motor vehicle is constantly moving. We are seeing it really big right now at workout facilities, dog parks, hiking areas. You want to go hiking and you leave your car, and people are leaving crimes of opportunity. They don't want to carry this stuff when they're out there in the park having fun, but they're leaving it visually open in the car. And it is just creating a chaos for the reports of theft from motor vehicle throughout Douglas County and other jurisdictions here in the metro area. When I talk to officers all over the place, we are all seeing the same problem. People being cooped up or going out and enjoying the outdoors, parking in all these parking lots and leaving that opportunity. And the frustrating part for us is that's a crime of opportunity, which means it's some of the hardest to solve. There's not a lot of evidence, not a lot of eyewitnesses, and people are getting a lot of things taken. What we see really quickly is they take any type of credit card, financial device, and immediately go use that device by getting other cards at King Soopers or Walmart and taking advantage of the money and getting as much as they can quickly. So a big shout out to everybody. Anybody that goes out, you're going for a hike, take as little as you need that you're not going to bring with you. Lock it in the car somewhere, lock it in the trunk, put it somewhere where it can't be seen, because there are people out there taking advantage of it, and it is happening everywhere. Did I lose you, Sarge?
No, I just have him muted for a minute. I was talking to Jason for a minute.
Okay.
He's getting some information for us, so.
Got it.
All right. One of the questions is specifically for fireworks violations. If there is a fireworks violation, we are currently in stage 2 fire ban, which means it's up to $1,000 fine plus a $10 fee. So that's just for the stage 2 fire violation or the fire ban violation. And then for fireworks, it could be $50 to $750 and up to 6 months in jail, according to Colorado law. Generally, in the past, we've tried to focus on education, but especially as the danger is getting higher and higher, just know that can get a lot more strict. We have to. We got to keep this county safe. We got to keep all of you safe. So just know that there's a potential that instead of just verbal warnings like some of you may have received in the past and just keep doing what you're doing, it could be a lot more strict this year. Again, it could be up to $1,750 in fines just for setting off a small little, sparkler if you want it to.
If I may jump in real quick, I think it's important that we remember that any of us who are over age 10 and older, so over the age of 9 basically, we are personally responsible for any fire that we start. It's called culpability, and that's covered in state law. So it doesn't matter if you meant to start a fire. What matters is that the fire started, and then you are personally responsible for any property damage that resulted from that fire, any injuries or any even deaths that were caused by that fire. And if your fire that you cause only threatens property or only threatens injuries, that's still an entire another level of crime. Those are all class 4 arsons, and so there's additional penalties with that. And again, this includes kids aged 10 to 18. So the excuse, oh, he's just a kid, or oh, she's just a child, that doesn't work with fire. Fire kills, and we need to take responsibility for our behavior and our choices, so that in Douglas County and the rest of our fire district this year, maybe even across the nation, but I don't want to go too far, we can make this a safe community. We just have to take responsibility for it.
Well, it was interesting, just in the Chat Ridge 2 fire, one of the things we were doing in the GIS section again was a property value for just right along the first few houses. And just trust me, it was way more than any of us want to be personally liable for on any level for something that could have easily crossed that line.
Well, and I know property is a big concern, but the concept of people being in a home and not knowing that there's the danger outside, the threat to life is even that next step that we are really worried about when it comes to those fires.
So just a reminder to everybody out there, if you have any questions for either law enforcement or fire, that's how we're doing it. If you comment in either Facebook or YouTube, we're going to go ahead and do our best to answer your questions. So please feel free to ask whatever you like, and we do our best to answer. So
we got a comment. Somebody's concerned about the current atmosphere that police and sheriff's officers are dealing with right now. You know, we are very fortunate that we work where we do. Douglas County and all the cities that are in Douglas County are very supportive of law enforcement and what we do. There's been no talk of being defunded or anything like that here in Douglas County. So we're very fortunate that way. But at the same time, when you see on the media or the news every night where officers are being treated the way they are, and most of us, 99% of us are out there trying to do an honest job and trying to help people. And when you're made to look evil, by the media or whoever, it does wear on you, and you start to question yourself, why are we doing what we're doing? But then you come to work, and next thing you know, that people are like, hey, you're wonderful, we want to buy you lunch. And you're like, that's why I do it. That's why we're doing what we're doing, and why I'm doing it where I'm doing it.
Yeah, we are lucky to be in Douglas County, and the support of our community is incredible. Here in Community Resources, we get a lot of phone calls daily of people calling and thanking us and wanting to know what they can do for us. And, really, that's it. Just the thanks goes a long way. When you do have so much negative hitting you, you get that phone call or the smile and the wave, people just saying thanks you. It's a big piece.
I would say that agencies all over the nation have a different culture to them. And the culture here at the Sheriff's Office is one that has always treated the entire public very professionally, very courteously, friendly even, to be able to make sure that nobody ever has any accusations or thinks anything negative of us along the way. Sure, there's going to be some people that are, negatively impacted by something we have to do if they're breaking the law. But generally, if they're not breaking the law, we're not having any negative interaction in the first place. Most of the time, it's just going to be a very positive interaction where we're out in the community willing to shake hands. I'm a hugger. I'm happy to give a hug anytime. He's just running away from me. But just know that we appreciate our community. We appreciate all of our brothers, like here in the county across all of the first responder fields. So like for you guys too, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today. It's a great display of just how great the partnership is among first responders as well as in the community. We all are, I know you guys specifically, I see you at as many events as we're at. I know you too, like we're all over the place. Just reaching out to be as close to the community as we can, trying to get as much education, as much personal contact as possible. That's what we're about.
Yeah, I agree. We're all just people who come to work like everybody else goes to work, and we're lucky that we have such a great working relationship between both of our departments, and then of course, like you said, Jason, all the other departments that are out there. And it goes a long way. What people probably don't realize when they watch this is sort of the behind the scenes of how often, especially Jeff and Jason, you and I interface on community messaging or at events or at meetings or whatever. So we're not strangers when a major incident occurs. I mean, we come together and we're people who know each other on scene, and it's like neighbors. We come together to help our neighbors who are having some kind of an emergency, but that's very much how we feel together. And I think it works really well.
Yeah, I agree. We're neighbors serving neighbors here in Douglas County. I'm lucky enough to live in the county, and everything that you guys have already said is spot on. So on behalf of me personally, completely thank my brothers and sisters in Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can do community events together, with or without masks. We'll do it. We'll make it work.
Right.
Early without.
Yes.
We just got a question about National Night Out. Well, unfortunately, National Night Out this year has been canceled nationwide. Well, they've tried to or I guess it's not saying it's been canceled, been postponed until sometime in October. Well, as many as you know, in October it may not happen in Colorado. It could be 70 degrees or it could be 7 degrees. We don't know. So we've got a couple of things that we're planning right now, and you'll be seeing some things coming out in a couple of weeks of things we're going to try and do in the community and keeping social distancing in mind. So just stay tuned for that.
Keep us in the loop, Sarge.
Oh, we will.
Just another couple of wrap-up questions here. Do you think that police need to be trained differently, or hiring needs to change? With the little comment that they love us at the same time. I don't know if the hiring needs need to change. We're always looking, I know fire is too, we're always looking to get the best caliber person possible. Anybody coming in here, as long as you got a clean background and some integrity to you, a lot of integrity, we'd love to have you come in and apply with. I'm sure your agency feels the same way. We'd love to have you come and take a look. When it comes to training, just know that our training on fire and law enforcement are always constantly evolving. It's not something that is, this is how we did it 20 years ago, so this is how we do it today. It is constantly evolving. We adapt to the environment we're working. So if the state decides that we have to change what we're doing, that's what we're going to do. If again, along with the local government, we do what we can to be the best service possible to the community that we serve at all times.
And if there's anybody out there that wants to learn more and get more in depth on this, we every year host a Citizens Academy where you can come in and spend time with us. We are planning to have one in September, depending on the COVID restrictions. Normally we have 30 people that come in and do a whole month of 30 hours of time with the sheriff's office to really get an idea of how we train, why we train, and the things we focus on to teach all of our employees how to handle situations. If you'd like to learn more, go to dcsheriff.net, look for Citizens Academy, and put in an application. Come spend time with us, and you get a chance to really see what it's all about and learn more.
We also have a Citizens Academy with South Metro Fire Rescue. Ours is currently on a COVID postponement or delay. We started late. We had a few classes in April. We did one class in May, and now we're waiting for a little bit more of the dust to settle. But typically we do ours in the spring, and you can learn about ours through our various social media platforms. You can contact us through that as well, and I'll get you on the email list if you're interested.
Yeah, right now we're planning on doing ours in person, but we are working on a plan B that if we have to go virtually, we'll do that. So we know
right now. I'm sorry, Sarge. We know right now is a great time for people to come and see what it's all about and educate themselves. There are some concerns about who we are and what we do sometimes, and we want to provide that open door to say, come on in and really see what it's all about. And it's a great way to see both agencies and learn a lot more. So get online, sign up. I only have 30 positions. So the first 30 that live in Douglas County, you'll be in. So get online.
And we'd love to have you. If you just have questions about your local law enforcement, it's a great way to get those questions answered, because it is going to be a lot of one-on-one interaction, or you meeting several different units, and you learn a little bit about how we function, how they function, and see what we can do to answer any questions you might have, or concerns even. That's what we're there for. Last question here, just again, there's license plate questions just for all those people out there, just to wrap it up. We aren't really affiliated with the DMV when it comes to that kind of stuff. We just are in charge of enforcement. So you'll have to contact the DMV or the clerk and recorder to get that resolved one way or the other. So,
but a lot of it can be done online now.
Absolutely.
So I would definitely look for your local jurisdictions for that. I was able to renew my driver's license yesterday all online. So they are making it a little bit easier. So hopefully you can make that happen there. Guys, we really do appreciate you guys joining us this time. This is something new, a great way to get out there and talk to the community. We've seen some really good positive feedback about this. Was a really good situation today with having you guys involved and talking about some of the issues we've been dealing with. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Do a little bit more in the future.
Sounds
That'd be great.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
And for those that joined us, we want to tell everybody, have a safe 4th of July, and, just a reminder of the fireworks this weekend and them not being allowed. So, help us out and help South Metro Fire out and all of our local fire agencies out, and keep them safe too.
Definitely. Yeah, we're here if you need us, but hopefully you don't have to call us.
Right.
Right.
We're glad you're there, but we don't necessarily want to see you.
Well, thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day.